Hi everybody, I'm Mike. Welcome to my shop, Bubba's Workbench. So today, I'm going to show you how I made this dowel jig. This is my original prototype, and as you see I've made two others with some slight improvements. I just made them nicer and larger in size. Why go through the trouble of making a jig when you can just go and buy one? Those may have a little bit more precision, but the amount of precision you will get out of this, I would put this up against any jig on the market. Sounds a little bit conceited, I know, but there's even a feature I've added into this that no jig on the market even offers, and I'll show you that in just a moment. Let's go over back to why you would make this jig. Okay, first and foremost, cost. Since this uses such minimal wood, one piece of wood, the length is really arbitrary. Now the knob, of course, I already had these knobs I made myself, but you can use just a wingnut. The second reason, though, why making jigs is great is it helps you with problem solving. It allows you to process the problem and figure out a good solution to it to achieve the results you're trying to get. What's so rewarding is when you have a specific problem you want solved, so you make your jig, such as I did with this one, for my unique problem. As I was stating, it has a certain feature this does, and I incorporated that kind of by accident. I didn't realize it let me do that feature until when I was building my box, I ran into a problem, but this jig was adaptable to suit that problem or fix that problem. The third reason for making jigs is it helps you with your woodworking skill in general. Difficult challenge would be the use of a router to cut this slot. You know, those are three reasons why making a jig is so beneficial. So here we have my original prototype, and I decided to make a couple more. One, since I had some ideas on how to improve it, which although I didn't really change the way it functioned, I didn't change any of the functionality at all. All I did was trying to simplify it to a point where somebody else, when they make it, it makes it that much easier for them. I'll have specifics in the description on how big each of these is. You know, one piece of scrap wood, you drill some holes, 1/4 inch and 3/8. Now I do quite a bit of 1/8. The only thing that's kind of unique in the hardware is this is pretty much like a T-nut, but it's just, you can see it's a much larger size since, you know, this is basically the equivalent of the two, and I feel like a visual of it. This is actually called a pronged washer with the larger bit than if it was this small one. So that's one little caveat to when making this, if you do it my way, but still, even when all is said and done and you make one of these, it'll be cheaper. So let me show you, I guess, quickly how it works or how you use this thing. Say you want to draw a line where it doesn't matter, you want to draw some holes here, and you go, you know, I want a hole right about, just go right there. Okay, we want to drill a hole right there in that spot. Well, we use my fancy, I call this the gentleman's edition. This one I'm pretty proud of. So we loosen up our jig, and what's nice is it's important to draw these lines. So you notice here I have this brass inlay here. Well, all you have to do is line up. Don't need to do any measuring. You line up the side with the side. Okay. Sounds too slippery. Okay, and then we line up the front. All right, got that lined up. Lock it down. Actually, I should have done it the other way. All right, let's push that up. Okay, line the side. Line up with the front. And lock it down. And you see my little scribble there. Not a very good circle, but there you go. Boom, right on the dot. So that's the benefit of, as you can see on this jig, when I did the brass inlays, those are markers, so you know these are the center points of your holes. Okay, so now I'll show you what makes this jig better than any jig on the market, or more versatile, I should say. Is if you remove your block here, okay, get a block off of here. Say you have a piece of wood and say it's a leg. It's we got this 4x4 here. We've got a 45-degree drawn on there. Well, most people are just going to come up here and they're just going to go boom. Well, when I do something like this that's going to be structural, I don't like to line up the pins. I believe that you're weakening that area, that you should always stagger. Just like when I put screws in, you don't put screws in typically side by side, you're always doing them at an angle. Well, that's where this jig will allow you to do something that no other jig on the market lets you do. And now we can line up. So we want to just try to get this centered as much as we can. And again, you know, I do have some pencil lines on the side. So see, I'm matching it up to my line. So it doesn't matter where it's at. Okay, so we lock it down again. Oops. Just knocking this out of adjustment. Sure you get the idea, but so there we go. There you go. Now you got 2 holes right there on the side. Now obviously this would be where you would want spacer because that's too close, but I'm just giving you an idea of the versatility that this has. Let's see, I don't think there's any of those jigs on the market. They're all simply 90-degree square. Then you could just take your block and put this back on, and we'll be back to perfectly square. You know, I did some brass inlay, so that really helps you see the line. Now you don't have to draw a pencil line. It's more precise, you know, and a little bit of precision there. And this is just a general center line, and I just painted that. Now what I've done on this one in particular, I believe I did on that one as well, is once I got this locked in and I got it to be square, and I mounted all this in here, I went over and on the sander and sanded all the whole thing together so it's perfectly smooth. And by doing so, now if I take this block off, I can put it back on and just feel, you know, as long as I feel there's no ridges, then I know I'm back to where I was. If you don't want to go over to the table saw, say you have that in your bag, it's not convenient to square it using my squaring method, then that's a way you could do it and be pretty darn close to square. All right, so let's build these darn things. This next part, one thing I wanted to point out is I like to go to Harbor Freight, and you can get these little doweling accessory kits, and they have 1/4 inch and they have 3/8. What I like to do is actually use the drill bit that comes in these kits in order to make the holes in our jig. It's an exceptionally good job of that. Okay, before I go any further and square this up, what I wanted to note is what I do after I cut these blocks is go ahead and drill 2 holes, 2 pilot holes. We're going to do a diagonal, and then what we're going to do is we're going to square this up. And then that way, once we know this is completely square, we can clamp this down, and then we'll know where the 2 holes will be that we need to drill or the T-nuts. Make sure you're taking consideration how fat this T-nut is. So on the very back, it's a good idea to mark, get an idea of where these are going to be. You know, they're going to be here diagonally. Okay guys, the moment of truth. We're finally at the finish line. I'm going to show you my super secret technique on how to square up your jig. So let's put this back together. Yeah, it's going to blow your mind, I'm telling you. Okay, just putting on a knob. How hard is that? Now, the nice thing about the way I do this is I am pretty confident you cannot possibly get any more square than I'm about to do, because if the if your miter track isn't square to the end of your table saw, you've got some serious problems. Problems such as you could have a lot of kickback, things like that. So, by doing it this way, you can rest assured that you are going to have absolutely square setup. So I hope you liked this video. If you did, hit that like button. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. So until next time, you take care.